So Shubham, first of all, congratulations. You've got your target score. 760 is no mean achievement.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It would not have been possible without your efforts and without your contribution to it, to the whole journey.
It was a real pleasure, Shubham. I was looking at our chat histories and I found that the very first time you had reached out was 1st October 2021. And here we are almost 10 months down the line celebrating your success. You had already taken GMAT before you reached out to me, right?
Yeah, two
So,
years back. Yeah, but yeah.
so can you share something about your past attempts? What happened before 21?
Yeah, so before 21, I'd taken just one attempt before joining Westbridge. So I thought that I would not have time at Westbridge, but I did not understand how much it takes. So I'd gone with like 15 days of just mock practice, and I got a 710. It was, of course, not up to the mark. And then I thought, and then my job has started, and I never got to it. Only till October when I thought that yes, I should get a head start when I reached out to Shweta ma'am and started the GMAT prep in an actual way. But earlier than before that, I'd only given one attempt, that too with 15 days of just mock practice. So it did not really go that well. And I got a 710 at that point of time.
So we can look at that 710 more or less like a diagnostic.
Yes,
And
yes.
added 50 points to that diagnostic score, so to say. So Shubham, what was the journey like? When you first got in touch, I really believed that you will be somebody who will get your target score within 2-3 months. You're highly capable. So what happened with your first attempt after you did the classroom course? You made an attempt in about 3 months time. What happened? Why did you not get the target score then?
No, I think there are multiple things. And to be honest, actually, even my first attempt was after 6 months of classes. And because there were multiple things which happened, like while we had done the classes in about 2, 3 months, but of course, as you know, that my job was very hectic, so I could not get regular practice. That's number one. And number two, we had finished classes by say mid-Jan, and what happened after that was COVID hit. So I also got COVID, so I lost 15 days there. Then suddenly there was some work pressure. I lost about 3 weeks there. So more or less, I lost the rhythm. So I clearly remember when I gave my mocks in Jan, I actually got a 760, and we were very hopeful that we'll probably give another mock in next week or so, and in the next 2 3 weeks we'll be done with it by end of Jan or mid starting Feb. But actually, the first time I actually booked my GMAT first attempt was in April second week, and that too I had to postpone because of my grandmother falling ill, and hence I had to postpone it to May, and actually April end, and then I forgot taking my passport, and then again I had to reshift it. So I think there were multiple things which happened. Of course, some things were in control, some things were not. But my biggest learning was that I think what mattered most was just being in the flow. And in all my attempts which I've taken, like even after the class I took 4 attempts. This was the fourth attempt. So all these 3 attempts were, for some reason or the other, I would lose flow either because of work or because of external factors or because of something in the home. But this attempt, I think, for the past month or so, I was I was paying a lot of attention to it. Every day I would do something or the other, even if 5 questions, but I would do that. I would even if 30 minutes, if not 1 hour or 2 hours. And of course, on weekends I gave more time. So I think just being in that flow helped me a lot, and I think that's the biggest learning for me through this journey.
So you're saying that for somebody to hit the target score, it's very important to be in the flow, be in rhythm for at least 2-3 weeks before the exam.
Yes, that's what's my biggest learning is.
Very important takeaway, especially for those who have work schedules like you do. I think it's important if you share what kind of work schedule were you coping with in the last 1 year.
Yeah, so like not diving too much into it, but I think it was pretty hectic. I would say that I was doing 14, 15 hours per day, including weekends. So it was 100-hour plus week. Plus, like in general, of course, there was COVID, etc. So a lot of things went sideways in that perspective. Then in the middle, my grandmother fell ill in the last 2 or 3 months, so I had to rush home in the middle. So multiple things, but I think the biggest work pressure was there. And since I'm in the PVC industry, and as people might know, 2021 has been a great year for all the startups. While we have deployed a lot of capital and have been a part of multiple deals, but it did take a toll on my health, on the time which I had to give to GMAT, and hence I could not give it enough time, which I should have, in hindsight. But yeah, I think that was my work schedule, and I think for anyone in the future, I would like urge them to be more transparent with your senior team and say that yes, I need this 1 month, like post your classes, maybe take 2-3 weeks and just give that, like be in that flow. Every day either do some OG or some cross referencing or give a mock, something or the other, because I just feel that that really helps. So I think for anyone who is living from PVC industry, I think, like, don't take it lightly, I would say. Just be in that flow for at least 2 weeks, if not more. And yeah, and I'm sure ma'am has done a great job, so that will always work out.
Thanks. But I saw during class time, at least, you were one of the few who would never miss a class. You're always on time. Your homework was always done. So how is it that with a 14-15 hour work schedule you managed? So how much were you sleeping? What were your study hours?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so during classes, and that's why I took taken an early morning class with ma'am. So I would wake up, say at say 7:30, 7 a.m., and we would start our class usually 8:30, and 1 hour class, and then I would say go to work or like start working. I was mostly working from home even when we started the class. So after the 14-15 hour work schedule, I would say sleep at maybe 1, and just before sleeping I would finish some part of the homework, and the other part of the homework I would just complete with half an hour before the class. So I told ma'am also many times that I just completed the homework. So basically I took time either half an hour, 1 hour before sleeping, or before the class I would chalk out half an hour, 1 hour to go through whatever ma'am had taught in the last class, and whatever ma'am had told to do, and try to complete as much as possible during that time. So, and that was how I usually managed my homework or the classes. So I usually try to be as punctual as I can. So that's something which has always been with me. So I'm glad that that did not go away.
So Shubham, how did you do quant? When did you take out time to do quant?
Yeah, on Quant, actually, I I spent some time, but I would not say I spent as much time as on verbal. And because Quant, given I'm from IIT, given I had good maths scores in school, I think I felt very confident on the Quant part of things. Having said that, I did not get a 51, but I did not practice a lot of it. But I would I would do quant on weekends mostly. Whenever I used to have some, like I used to go out of practice, or I just felt let's just do some quant practice. Ma'am had already shared resources on advanced topics on quant, etc. So I would do those advanced questions mostly. And to be honest, I did not do any quant from the OGs at all. I only did advanced questions which ma'am shared, and those were helpful. And in one of the attempts, I remember I got a 49. I was very upset about it, that how did I get a 49 in this? And that's when I spent a bit more time just to see, okay, what are the topics which I'm getting wrong? And for some reason, I think it was sets and geometry, which I would always get 1 or 2 questions wrong. So I just practice a bit more on that, on the advanced topics, and that really helped. But having said that, I spent like 10x the amount of time on verbal than quant, if I have to say.
Okay, got it. Now let's talk about a little bit more in specific.
Mm-hmm.
You got a 50 on quant, but I believe you made only 1 or 2 errors on the
Yeah.
test. And that reflects in the overall score. You got a 760. Your score combination was 50 and 41. Frequently, 50 and 41 lead to a 740 or a 750 score. So I think the overall score justified how well you had done on Quant, even though the sectional score did not. I want to also touch upon how you studied for verbal. Let's go one by one. Let's start with sentence correction. What do
Mhm.
you think was different about how you prepared for sentence correction? How did that translate into speed and accuracy? Can you throw some light?
Sure. So I think ma'am has a great toolkit for sentence correction. Of course, going through all the rules which ma'am tells during classes, practicing that, remembering that, uh, and then cross-referencing, which is ma'am's biggest toolkit, which she gives to all the students. So I think going through all the questions, even once, and going through all the options really helps. It it kind of builds that muscle memory which ma'am says, right? That basically, there's a lot of things in sentence correction, a lot of rules, lots of small things which you have to be careful about, and you can't remember it all. It has to get ingrained in your memory in some ways. So I think just doing those sentence correction questions on a regular basis really helps, and that's where I think I lost track because, as I said earlier, that I would not be always in the flow. And for sentence correction, to build that muscle memory, you need that 2-3 weeks of constant practice or regular practice of doing it. And one more thing which I would say it helped me was that initially I was only doing from the OGs, and had almost completed two OGs, actually 2.5 OGs by the second or third attempt. So this time in my fourth attempt, I also took an online question bank and I practiced on that as well, because I just felt that being in a timed environment helps to also build some stress capabilities, which I would also advise to future students that, like, if you have, like, if taken takes any online question bank and maybe even practice from that. And while the focus should be on OG and focus should be on cross referencing that, but giving only the GMAT mocks may not be enough for some people. Maybe for building that accuracy in a timed environment, what also helps is, say, using any online question bank and giving online mocks, or just doing online sentence correction practice. That really helps, to actually get it more ingrained, and also spending time on, okay, what is, and then tying it back to the rules that, okay, if I got this wrong, what was the rule which was getting applied and why did I get it wrong? And so that it improves in the next attempt.
Okay, got it. Let's talk about critical reasoning. How important was it for you to learn the concepts?
Yeah, I think it was super important to learn the concepts on critical reasoning, on, you know, whether a question is talking about strengthening, weakening, what is it, a goal or is it a, para completion? That is very obvious. But even in goals, there are assumption questions, as well as, whether the cause and effect question, or the, strengthening or weakening question in the goal part of things. It's very important to identify the type of question, and keep, you know, uh, take it accordingly. Like, as ma'am says, that if it is a strengthened question, it's not necessary to find out one option which strengthens the most, but also look at other options which weaken and then try to eliminate that. I think critical reasoning is more about elimination. And like when we come to RC, same thing there. Like sentence correction is identifying the right one, right? And it's very easy to eliminate. In critical reasoning, is not that easy to eliminate. You have to go through each and option very carefully and see whether it really ties it back to the original passage or not. So it's important to, that's why, know the concepts. And like, for example, like, only can only be used if it is there in the passage, and only then can an option be correct in that. Be wary of some, few, etc. I think these very small concepts really help you a lot to eliminate options. And I think critical reasoning, you have to go through all the options, and only then can you eliminate the 4 options and go to the right one.
Okay, let's talk about the main course of your score, which was reading comprehension, where you got 100% accuracy. How did that happen?
Yeah, I think that happened because of two reasons. I feel one, that just before my fourth attempt, I started reading a book. So that really helped me fasten my reading like speed in general. And I think that is super critical for RC, because as the students might be aware, that it's important to have that structure in your mind, and having that, spending just that extra 2 minutes on the passage helps you further save time in the question. So for me, I would actually rather spend 2.5 minutes. Ma'am prescribes 2 minutes, but I would spend 2.5 minutes, because I saw that after that 2.5 minutes, my per question speed would reduce drastically, and I would only spend 1.5 minute per question answering that, because like writing down the structure, a lot of it just imbibes into you, and it's very easy to eliminate options after that. And again, in RC, it's important to eliminate options, just like CR. And while in SC also you're eliminating options, but in SC you have rules to go by. In RC, there are no specific set of rules. There's some guidance which is there, that okay, you should not talk about only, or you should not talk about, or general to specific should not be there. So those kind of guidances are there, but you have to go through all the options in details to understand which is right, which is wrong. And I think again, the other parts which really helped was, of course, the word matching, the vertical scanning, the location preferences. So I think in these passages, especially in the last attempt, I think I spent a lot of time just making sure that the option ties back to the location, ties back to the idea which is being inferred by the author. And since my reading speed had increased in general, it helped me go through the passage faster, and I could spend more time on the question and just tie it back to the passage and see where it is being fit. And I think that's really helped. But to be honest, I think RC, you can always get 1 or 2 errors during the whole exam. There are 14 RC questions, so I think I was lucky as well that I got 100% accuracy. But yeah, I would say that you should the focus should be on just tying it back to the passage's idea, the author's idea, and not assume things, especially in RC and CR. I think facts are facts there, and just stick to it.
Awesome. So Shubham, let's do one thing. Let's take everyone through your ESR. I'm so happy that you purchased the ESR for this attempt, and
Sure.
here I have with me the ESR. Here we go.
Yeah.
You have a perfect 8 on IR. Congratulations for that.
So, I think this time IR was very easy. But
we can say that you spent an average of 1 minute 49 seconds on each verbal question, which is a very good time management.
yeah, I just ended on time, so I would not say it was very good time management, but it was just borderline.
Okay. We can say this. This is how IR went.
Yeah.
In general, you have approximately 2 minutes per question, so you have used those 2 minutes. This is verbal.
Yeah.
And this is the 100% accuracy we were talking about on RC.
Yes.
It's very interesting for me that your score on the communication-based questions on sentence correction is higher than grammar, because normally we experience the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. This time, I don't know why this was the case, but I think also because since I was reading and since I was doing a lot of these online sentence correction practice, in general, I got that hook of just getting the meaning of the sentence as well, while ma'am has strictly advised not to get into it, but it kind of got into me automatically. So hence I think that's why it helped me in this meaning analysis, that I would in general automatically cater to a meaning. So I did not spend a lot of time understanding the meaning, but in case if I felt that okay, the meaning is not coming out, I would like change options or change my answer. So perhaps that. And grammar, yeah, this time I made I think two errors here. But yeah, I don't know, somehow the communication parts clicked and it went well.
That's a good thing. So under normal circumstances, the split I see is grammar. Usually my students get almost 100%. Some do get 100% exactly. Communication, we say 60 to 80. Of course, we've had situations of 100%. So somebody who develops a good natural ear for the language, you know what sounds right, does well on communication. As a blanket rule, we've seen that it's not possible for everyone within a short time to develop that. So it's easier to bank on the grammar.
Yeah.
So what worked, what got you the 41, and how that 41 led to a 760, we can see clearly when we look at this.
Yeah.
The first quarter is error free.
Yes.
And your errors are concentrated in Q3, 4, which tells you how you reached a higher level of difficulty. And if you can see the analysis, the graph here, in general, the level is above moderate. And the questions that you got wrong, fortunately, were higher level questions. The easier questions you get wrong, the more the score falls.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had done that from my past few attempts. So and even if we go to the further time management, you'll see that in my first half of the exam, I was more conscious of time. So that's why if you see my second quarter, I spent like 2 minutes, 15 seconds per question. Though I would not advise students doing that. But it just because, and since it was my fourth attempt, I was a bit more conscious about that, because if you see my third attempt, I think I still believe that was my best attempt in terms of number of questions getting wrong, because I had only got one RC and one CR wrong, and majority were SC questions which I got wrong. But still, I got a 720, and I was actually very bummed after that. And because even at that point of time, I really felt confident about the verbal section, and I knew that things will go, like, I was confident about things going right, but it did not go well because my first quarter had the majority of the errors concentrated, whereas my second half was completely error free. So hence, naturally, or subconsciously, I spent more time in my first half ensuring that I don't make silly mistakes there, and it somehow clicked, and I got 100% accuracy in my first half. While it helped, but I would still not advise students to like spend 2 minutes 15 seconds per question in the second half. Stick to that 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 40 average time per question. I think that is super critical for the overall exam, because you don't want to miss any question. And that's why I feel that in my last two questions I was actually rushed. I only had about 2 minutes, and there was one CR, one RC. So hence I think my last quarter accuracy dropped even further because I could not spend enough time on the last two questions. So hence I would advise students not to actually give too much weightage during the first half, rather keep it evenly paced so that like your overall exam goes well.
I think if we calculate, we can make an educated guess that you made in the range of 6 to 8 errors in total.
Yes.
Right?
I think 7 according to my calculation, but yes, 6 to 8.
So that's exactly the error range we would like to concentrate ourselves in if we are targeting a 40 and above, with hopefully zero RC errors.
Yeah.
RC errors tend to be the most expensive.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that your ASR has proved that, because we keep emphasizing that RC is going to save your life or it's going to cost you the exam.
Yeah.
Here's a quick look at Quant. So the couple of errors that you made in look like they were restricted in geometry and the rates ratio percentage. So I'm sure they were avoidable.
Yeah.
Could have been some calculation errors or something.
Yeah, no, I think one question was actually tough, and I remember that question very well, and I can even discuss it for the sake of this for the students in the future. So basically, it was a circle with 12 inches of radius, and it was cut at a 120-degree, and using the two ends of the cut part, a cone was formed, and you had to calculate the altitude of the cone. So
Okay.
what I did wrong was I actually visualized it wrong, and later on when I thought about it, it was actually rather simple when I was discussing it with my fact mate. But I think I could have avoided that. So that was the second last question of the paper. I clearly remember the 30th question. So that was in the last quarter. And if I had not done that, I could have got a 51, but never mind. So I think, but yeah, the ratio proportion, I don't remember, but I'm sure it was avoidable.
So bottom line, I feel because the number of errors was not high on Quant overall, while the algorithm gave you 50, you were compensated in the overall score.
Yes,
Similarly,
I
in
would.
verbal, you were compensated because of your 100% RC, you were compensated. You got a higher score, the higher end of the score combination, uh,
Yes.
which is a big relief. So, how do you feel, Shubham, ultimately? 5 attempts later, 760, a lot of sweat, 10 months later. How does it feel?
I think just a sense of relief, and it was a big hurdle and it was a big mental factor. And so I'd already started my prep on the MBA applications part simultaneously because I knew that I could not just wait for GMAT to get cleared and then start. So hence there were multiple things going on and it always played on your mind. And until you get a good GMAT score, you'll always have doubts whether to apply to this school, whether to apply to that school or not. So it's a big mental factor. And to be honest, it was also a big part of self doubt, which starts coming into you since I think almost every student of Shweta ma'am has had a good track record in like previous academics or work experience, etc. So when it comes to GMAT and if he or she is not getting their target score, their potential score, it always reduces your confidence. And it so happened with me as well. I was not feeling well about myself. I was always doubting me, what am I doing wrong? And I could not figure it out. And hence, when you get that score, it's a big relief. It's just a, it's just a big mental load off yourself and getting it 1 month before the deadlines. I think that's also a big relief because otherwise if the longer it gets postponed, the higher the tension, higher the stress level. So I think in general, I think I just feel relieved. That's it. And of course, thankful and grateful to ma'am, to family, to friends, to everyone who has been in this journey. It's been a long 10 months for sure.
Well deserved score, Shubham. I'm so happy that finally you got your target score. And if anyone deserved it, it was you. But
Thank you so much, ma'am.
one thing that I feel your journey can teach others is how you coped with exam stress. I get students every day from your background, your peer group. They are IITians, they work for private equity. The kind of stress that everyone is under, the stakes are very high, the competition is very high. You're competing for the top spots.
Yeah.
So that I've seen unimaginable levels of stress. I've got messages middle of the night that if I don't get my target score, I'm slitting my wrist. And that's put a question mark many times on what we are doing and why we are doing. I have become very fond of saying that stressing over GMAT is a first world problem. You are a privileged lot, the best brains of the country heading to become the best brains of the world. You are a privileged lot, and to not make the best of that privilege, not take advantage of that opportunity, but to stress over it. Know that there's a positive way of looking at it and there's a negative way of looking at it. Ultimately, one has to face the demons. How did
Yeah.
you face your demons?
Yeah, I think the other part, how I face my demons, I think in all my 3 attempts before this attempt, I think, of course, I was losing flow or I was not in practice, but I think in my third attempt, I was very confident. But what what was always playing on my mind was probably that, okay, I need to score this much, I need to score that much, right? It always, and even if you like, while people say that don't think about it, just chill and go and give it, it's easier said than done. And I think ma'am knows it, every student knows it, because it's always there in the back of your mind. So hence, even before this attempt, what other major change which I did was started meditating. And and I suggested it to everyone in the group, and I'll tell all the future students as well, that I think meditation really helps really calm your mind. And there's an amazing app called Waking Up, where there's a Stanford professor who actually goes through guided meditation. My flatmate actually recommended it to me, and has been very helpful in just making myself calm. And even actually in this exam, just before starting the exam, I meditated for 2 minutes. During the break of 8 minutes, I meditated for 2, 3 minutes. And it actually just helps you clear your head. And usually I think most of the students take quant first and then go to verbal. And it can always happen that in quant you might get stuck on one or two questions and just stays, in your mind that okay, I could have got this, I could have got this, but it's important to just clear that off and go into verbal with a clean state of mind and be as calm as possible. I think verbal tests your stress levels to the maximum. So hence it's very important to just stay calm during that point of time. So I think meditation really helps, that stress just goes away. And to be honest, during verbal, I was just quite focusing on one question at a time and not focusing on, give I made that mistake, or I could have, or I should get this score, I should get that score. I just went with the mindset that you know I'm confident of getting a good score. Let's just give it and let's do question by question, and let's see where we get. So I think not having expectations is tough, but it's important, and probably clearing your head removes that expectation. So I would suggest all future aspirants to try some meditation before the exam, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I'm still continuing with it. I think it really helps just keep a focused mind and a calm mind.
Awesome, Shubham. Thank you so much for sharing all this. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. Already, your ESR and understanding the importance of scoring on RC has helped many. Okay.
I hope so.
I am so happy that we're all starting this culture of learning from the cohort, peer learning from seniors, because we are like I said, we're a privileged lot, and we shouldn't further put up walls around us.
Yeah.
We should build a lot of team learning. All the best for your applications now. I'm very, very sure that a very bright future awaits you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for all the help which you have given over the course of 10 months. And yes, looking forward to, having more interactions in the future.
Absolutely. I'm going to see you in Bangalore very soon.
Yes.
Bye, Shubham. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.